In the vast frozen expanse of the Arctic, a drama of survival unfolds with the rhythm of the seasons. Here, the polar bear reigns as the undisputed monarch of this icy wilderness, its life shaped by a relentless cycle of abundance and deprivation. The polar bear's existence is inextricably linked to the sea ice, a vast, ever-shifting platform that serves as both hunting ground and highway. As winter descends and the Arctic is locked in darkness, the ice thickens and stretches for hundreds of miles, transforming the landscape into a frozen kingdom. During this time of plenty, the polar bear's keen senses come alive. Its powerful nose can detect a seal's breathing hole from nearly a kilometre away, and its massive paws, covered in dense fur and equipped with tiny papillae for grip, allow it to move silently across the ice. The hunt is a test of patience and precision. The bear waits motionless for hours, sometimes days, beside a seal's breathing hole, relying on its acute hearing to detect the faintest sound beneath the ice. When the moment comes, it strikes with astonishing speed, securing the blubber-rich meal that is vital for survival. This is the season of feasting. A single adult bear can consume up to 20% of its body weight in one sitting, focusing on the calorie-dense blubber and leaving the leaner meat for scavengers. Over the course of winter and early spring, a successful bear may double its weight, building up thick layers of fat beneath its skin. This fat is more than just insulation against the cold. It is a lifeline, a reservoir of energy that will sustain the bear through the lean months ahead. As spring gives way to summer, the Arctic undergoes a dramatic transformation. The sun, absent for months, now circles the sky, never setting. Temperatures rise, and the once solid ice begins to fracture and retreat, breaking apart into smaller floes and exposing open water. The shrinking ice forces the bears to abandon their hunting grounds. With the seals now out of reach, the bears are driven ashore, where the land offers little in the way of sustenance. The journey from ice to land is a perilous one. Some bears must swim for miles, navigating frigid waters and dodging shifting ice flows, expending precious energy with every stroke. Once ashore, the bears enter a period of enforced fasting. The tundra, though vast, is barren, offering little more than the occasional berry, root, or bird egg, none of which can sustain a creature of such size. For up to 4 months, sometimes longer, the bears rely entirely on the fat reserves built up during the winter feast. Their bodies undergo remarkable physiological changes. Metabolism slows, heart rate drops, and activity is minimized to conserve every possible calorie. Mothers with cubs face an even greater challenge. They must provide for their young, nursing them with rich milk while fasting themselves, a feat made possible only by the extraordinary energy stored in their bodies. During these lean months, polar bears enter a state known as walking hibernation. Unlike true hibernators, they remain awake and mobile, but their bodies shift into a low-power mode. Their metabolism drops by as much as 50%, and they become lethargic, moving only when absolutely necessary. This adaptation allows them to survive for months without eating, drawing down their fat reserves with remarkable efficiency. Every movement is deliberate, every action weighed against the cost in energy. Even play among cubs is subdued, and adults spend long hours resting in the shade of rocks or shallow pits dug into the earth. The bears wait, ever patient, for the return of the cold. Their survival depends on the reformation of the sea ice, which will once again connect them to their prey. As autumn approaches, the temperature drops, and the first signs of new ice appear along the shorelines. The bears become more active, patrolling the coast in anticipation. The return of the ice is a moment of profound significance. It signals the end of the long fast and the beginning of a new season of opportunity. The bears, now lean and driven by hunger, are among the first to venture onto the fragile new ice. Their instincts guide them to the best hunting grounds, where seals are once again within reach. Relief and anticipation are almost palpable as they step onto the ice, their senses sharpened by months of deprivation. The first successful hunt after the long fast is a moment of renewal. The rich blubber of a seal replenishes their bodies, restoring strength and setting the stage for another cycle of survival. This epic comeback, repeated year after year, is a testament to the polar bear's extraordinary resilience and the intricate adaptations that allow it to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Yet, this ancient cycle is increasingly threatened by the changing climate. As the ice retreats earlier and forms later each year, the bear's window for hunting narrows, and the challenges they face grow ever more daunting. Still, the polar bear endures, adapting as best it can, a living symbol of the Arctic's wild beauty and the delicate balance that sustains life at the top of the world. The ancient rhythm of the Arctic is changing. The reliable cycle of freezing and thawing which has governed the life of the polar bear for millennia is being disrupted. Our planet is warming, and nowhere are the effects more pronounced than in this polar region. The sea ice, the very foundation of the polar bear's world, is melting earlier in the spring and forming later in the autumn. This seemingly small shift in timing has monumental consequences for the bears. Each extra day without ice is an extra day of fasting, an extra day that their bodies must survive on diminishing reserves of fat. It is a slow, creeping pressure that is pushing their remarkable survival skills to the breaking point. As the ice recedes, the fasting period begins. Polar bears are forced ashore, cut off from their primary prey, seals, who remain out of reach on the vanishing ice. The first days of fasting are met with stoic endurance. The bear's metabolism shifts, slowing down to conserve precious energy. Their bodies begin to rely on thick layers of fat, accumulated during the brief hunting season. In the early stages, the bears rest as much as possible, minimizing movement to reduce energy expenditure. They may sleep for long hours, their bodies entering a state of semi-hibernation. As weeks pass, the fat reserves begin to dwindle. The bears' bodies start to break down muscle tissue to survive, leading to visible weight loss and a decline in strength. The fasting period, once just over 100 days, now stretches to 140 days or more. Each day the bears grow weaker, their movements slower, their bodies thinner. Hunger drives them to search for alternative food sources, bird eggs, berries, even seaweed. But these offer little sustenance compared to the rich blubber of seals. As the fast drags on, the bears' bodies adapt further. Their heart rates drop, and their digestive systems slow almost to a halt. Every movement is calculated, every step weighed against the cost in energy. Mothers with cubs face the greatest challenge. They must ration their dwindling energy, not only for themselves, but also to nurture and protect their young, who are especially vulnerable to the effects of prolonged hunger. The longer the fast, the less time remains for hunting when the ice finally returns. The window to catch seals and rebuild fat reserves shrinks, making each hunt more urgent and critical. When the ice reforms, the bears return to the sea, weakened but driven by instinct. They must hunt relentlessly, seizing every opportunity to feed and restore their bodies before the next fast begins. For females, the stakes are even higher. Only those in peak condition can successfully carry cubs, give birth, and produce the rich milk needed for their survival. If a mother's fat reserves are too low, her milk production falters, and her cubs may not survive the long summer. As the fasting season lengthens, fewer females reach the necessary body weight, leading to fewer births and a struggle for the next generation. Cubs born into these harsh conditions are smaller, weaker, and face a steeper climb to survival. Each year, as the ice breaks up earlier, the bears come ashore lighter, with less energy to endure the long months ahead. The loss of body mass is significant for an animal that depends entirely on stored energy to survive the summer. The lengthening famine is not a future threat. It is a present-day reality. The bears are forced to endure a marathon of starvation that grows longer each year. Some bears wander vast distances in search of food, their bodies pushed to the brink of exhaustion. Their story is no longer just one of seasonal hardship, but of a desperate struggle against a rapidly changing world. The shrinking ice shortens their hunting season and stretches their endurance to its absolute limit, testing every adaptation that has allowed them to survive in this harsh, beautiful realm. To truly understand how polar bears endure up to 140 days of starvation, we need to examine the remarkable science behind their high-fat survival strategy, one of the most specialized adaptations in the animal kingdom. The polar bear is the most carnivorous of all bear species, and its body is exquisitely adapted to a very specific fat-rich diet. It relies almost exclusively on marine mammals, with ringed and bearded seals forming the foundation of its menu. These seals are incredibly rich in blubber, providing a dense source of calories that is essential for survival in the extreme cold. When a polar bear consumes a seal, it prioritizes the blubber, which it stores as its own thick layer of fat, sometimes making up nearly half its total body weight. The polar bear's digestive system is highly specialized for processing this ultra-high-fat diet. Its liver and intestines are adapted to efficiently break down and absorb large quantities of fat, converting it into energy and storing it as blubber. Unlike other carnivores, polar bears are not well equipped to handle large amounts of protein. Their metabolism is tuned to extract maximum energy from fat, not lean meat. Relying on protein alone can lead to protein poisoning, causing kidney and liver damage. This makes fat not just a preference, but a necessity for their survival. The blubber from seals is the primary fuel that powers the polar bear's body, especially during the long months when food is scarce. A single large male can consume up to 100 kilograms, over 200 pounds, of seal in one sitting, rapidly building up its fat reserves. This ability to gorge and store energy as blubber is the secret to surviving the long Arctic fasting season. The winter feast is a race against time. As the ice melts, polar bears must accumulate as much fat as possible before the hunting season ends. Hunting seals requires patience, power, and intelligence, skills honed by evolution to maximize fat intake. One common hunting technique is to wait motionless by a seal's breathing hole, sometimes for hours, conserving energy in the biting wind. The bear listens for the faintest sound of a seal surfacing, ready to strike with precision. When the moment comes, the bear uses its powerful forelimbs and jaws to haul the seal onto the ice, securing a vital source of fat. Another method involves stalking seals, resting on ice floes, using stealth and camouflage to get close. The bear's white coat blends with the snow, allowing it to approach undetected before launching a sudden explosive attack. This high-fat diet is both the polar bear's greatest strength and its greatest vulnerability. The blubber not only provides energy, but also insulates the bear from the frigid Arctic temperatures, reducing heat loss and conserving calories. Thanks to this adaptation, polar bears can thrive in an environment where few other large mammals could survive. Their metabolism is uniquely designed to convert seal blubber into energy reserves, allowing them to enter a state of walking hibernation, lowering their metabolic rate to conserve fat during the lean months. However, this extreme specialization means polar bears have no real alternative food source. Their bodies cannot efficiently switch to other diets. Without seals, and without the sea ice platform from which to hunt them, the polar bear's entire metabolic survival strategy collapses. The feast is what makes the famine survivable. As the feast grows shorter and the ice disappears, the threat of starvation looms ever larger, challenging the very limits of the polar bear's extraordinary adaptations. As the last fragments of sea ice dissolve beneath the warming sun, a lone polar bear steps gingerly onto the tundra. The world it enters is starkly different from the frozen expanse it knows, a place where every step is a reminder of scarcity. The bear pauses, nostrils flaring, scanning the horizon for any sign of movement, any hint of opportunity. Hunger gnaws at its belly, but instinct keeps it moving. The bear rises, sniffing the breeze for the faintest scent of food, its massive paws pressing into the soft, uneven ground. Each stride is deliberate, conserving precious energy as it navigates a landscape stripped of its usual bounty. The search begins in earnest. The bear lowers its head, nose close to the earth, investigating every tuft of grass and crevice between the rocks. Occasionally it uncovers a patch of moss or a scattering of berries, but these are meager rewards for such a powerful predator. Across the tundra, other bears are engaged in the same relentless quest. About 70% of bears in fasting populations are observed foraging during the summer, each one driven by the same urgent need. The bear nibbles at sparse grasses, pulling at the tough blades with its teeth. The taste is bland, the texture unfamiliar, but hunger leaves little room for choice. Reaching the rocky shoreline, it discovers kelp and seaweed washed up by the tide. The bear tears at the slippery strands, swallowing them in hopes of staving off the emptiness inside. With careful precision, it plucks berries from low-lying shrubs, lips and tongue working together to gather every last morsel. These moments are slow and methodical, the bear's focus unwavering. The bear's journey leads it to a seabird colony. It climbs cautiously among the rocks, peering into nests for eggs or chicks. The birds scatter, their cries echoing across the cliffs, but sometimes the bear is rewarded with a fragile egg or a downy chick, small prizes, but vital in these lean times. Occasionally the wind carries the scent of decay. The bear follows it, nose twitching, until it finds the remains of a caribou or a whale washed ashore. It tears at the flesh, savouring the rare taste of meat and fat. But such finds are few and far between. Most days the bear returns to grazing on plants, its expression one of resignation. The food is unsatisfying, a poor substitute for the rich blubber it craves. Its digestive system, evolved for processing seal blubber, struggles to extract nutrition from these unfamiliar foods. The bear chews slowly, its body receiving little in return for the effort. Berries and grass fill the stomach, but not the body's deep need for calories. The bear's frame grows thinner, its movements more laboured with each passing day. Even the most energetic foragers lose weight rapidly. Studies show that bears searching for these alternative foods can lose weight as quickly, or even faster, than those that simply rest. Exhaustion sets in. The bear collapses onto the tundra, sides heaving, eyes half closed. Rest is essential, but hunger never truly fades. Driven by desperation, the bear resumes its search, digging at the earth, overturning rocks and sniffing for any sign of life. Insects, small rodents and even roots are considered, but the energy spent often outweighs the gain. The landscape offers little comfort. The bear's dietary inflexibility becomes painfully clear as it roams, unable to adapt to the meager offerings of the tundra. Unlike the adaptable grizzly bear, which feasts on salmon, roots, berries and mammals, the polar bear is a specialist, its skills honed for the ice, not the land. Now stranded far from the ocean, the bear is a marine hunter marooned in a terrestrial world. It is like a master sailor lost in a desert, its talents rendered useless by the environment. The bear's powerful limbs, sharp claws and keen senses, so effective on the ice, offer little advantage here. Each day is a struggle, each meal a disappointment. Watching a polar bear delicately pluck berries is a poignant sight, a mighty predator reduced to foraging for scraps, its strength slowly ebbing away. These summer snacks do little to halt the inevitable decline. The bear's body continues to shrink, its energy reserves dwindling. Each day the bear loses over a kilogram, more than 2 pounds of body weight, no matter how much it forages. The transformation is stark. Ribs become visible, fur hangs loosely, and the once mighty hunter moves with increasing lethargy. Fat reserves dwindle, and the bear grows weaker with each passing week. Rest becomes more frequent, movements slower. This time on land is not a period of adaptation but of endurance. The bear ignores plants it knows will not satisfy, searching for something more. Often it simply waits, lying motionless, conserving every ounce of energy, hoping for the return of the ice. The days blur together in a holding pattern, the bear pacing or circling, driven by restlessness and hunger. Survival now depends not on what can be found on land, but on the fat stored from the last successful hunt on the ice. The memory of winter's bounty, of seals hunted on the ice, becomes the bear's only hope. And so the bear waits, eyes fixed on the horizon, longing for the return of the sea ice and the end of its long, hungry vigil. As the gap between the solid coastline and the vanishing edge of the sea ice widens, polar bears are compelled to embark on extraordinary journeys of endurance. The Arctic's shifting landscape demands that these powerful swimmers push their limits, braving vast, frigid expanses of open water. Each stroke through the icy waves is a test of strength and willpower. Polar bears slice through the water, their massive paws acting as paddles, propelling them forward as they scan the horizon for a glimmer of ice, a lifeline in the endless blue. These are not leisurely swims. Each journey is a desperate race against exhaustion and hunger. After hours, sometimes days in the water, a bear hauls itself onto a fragile floe, muscles trembling, breath ragged, fat reserves depleted. In the vastness of the Beaufort Sea, a lone female once swam for 9 days without rest, covering nearly 700 kilometers. She reached the ice, but the ordeal cost her dearly. Her body shrank, and her cub, unable to withstand the relentless cold and waves, was lost to the sea. For young bears, the open ocean is a gauntlet. Lacking the thick, insulating fat of adults, cubs tire quickly, their small bodies chilled by the relentless cold. The mother's instincts drive her onward, but the odds are stacked against her offspring. Hunger gnaws at the bears, pushing them to the edge of their abilities. Driven by instinct, they search for any opportunity, their keen noses leading them to the scent of prey, sometimes to the massive forms of whales. In the summer, beluga whales gather in river estuaries. Here, polar bears become patient hunters, crouching motionless atop shoreline boulders. When a whale surfaces too close, the bear explodes into action, launching its massive body onto the unsuspecting prey. Sometimes shifting ice traps belugas in shallow water. Sensing opportunity, a bear uses its immense strength to drag the struggling whale onto the ice. The reward is great, a feast that can sustain a bear for days, though such windfalls are rare and fiercely contested. When the sea offers nothing, some bears turn to the land. On the tundra, a polar bear's white coat stands out against the brown and green, but hunger sharpens its focus. In Svalbard, a bear stalks a reindeer, moving with surprising stealth for such a massive predator. The chase is awkward and short-lived. Built for ice, not land, the bear's heavy body and thick fur make it prone to overheating. Its wide paws, perfect for gripping slick ice, slip on the rocky ground. Still, desperation drives the bear onward. When the hunt succeeds, the bear devours its prize, tearing into flesh and bone with powerful jaws. Every scrap of meat is precious, a testament to the bear's adaptability and fierce will to survive. Yet, these land-based meals, reindeer, bird eggs, even the occasional carcass, cannot match the rich, blubber-laden seals that are the true foundation of a polar bear's diet. The Arctic's top predator is a master of survival, but its fate remains tied to the ice and the sea. For a pregnant polar bear, the end of the autumn hunting season marks the beginning of the most demanding and perilous period of her life. As the days grow shorter and the Arctic chill deepens, she must prepare for a remarkable transformation, one that will test the limits of endurance and maternal devotion. She sets out across the frozen landscape, searching for a suitable denning site, often a snowdrift along a coastal slope or in the shelter of a low-lying area. Here she uses her powerful forelimbs to dig a tunnel deep into the snow, creating a chamber that will serve as both sanctuary and nursery. Once inside this dark, insulated chamber, the polar bear enters a state of fasting that can last up to 8 months, the longest known for any mammal. The den's thick snow walls provide crucial insulation, buffering her and her unborn cubs from the relentless Arctic winds and sub-zero temperatures. Throughout this time, she will not eat, drink, or defecate, relying solely on her fat reserves to sustain herself and nourish her developing young. Her body undergoes extraordinary physiological changes, recycling waste products and conserving water to survive the long, foodless months. This period of denning is a feat of endurance and sacrifice, a testament to the polar bear's adaptation to one of the harshest environments on Earth. The den becomes a cocoon of life, where the next generation is given its best chance at survival. Around the turn of the year, deep within the snowy refuge, the mother gives birth to 1 to 3 cubs. The birth is silent and hidden, the den's darkness shielding the tiny newcomers from the world outside. The cubs are born astonishingly small and fragile, weighing little more than a bag of sugar, about 1.4 kilograms. Their eyes are closed, their bodies nearly hairless, and they are utterly helpless, unable to regulate their own body temperature. In these first critical weeks, the cubs depend entirely on their mother's warmth and her rich, fatty milk. She curls her massive body around them, creating a living blanket that shields them from the cold and keeps them safe from harm. The mother's milk is among the richest in the animal kingdom, containing over 30% fat. This allows the cubs to grow rapidly, gaining strength and developing the thick fur and insulating fat they will need to survive outside the den. For several months, the den is their entire universe, a warm, secure haven from the brutal Arctic cold and the dangers that lurk beyond. Here, the cubs begin to explore, play, and bond with their mother, learning the first lessons of survival. The mother's fast continues, her body steadily transforming stored fat into life-sustaining milk. She grows thinner, but her vigilance never wavers, as she tends to her cubs' every need, grooming them and keeping the den clean. By March or April, the cubs have grown to about 10 kilograms and are strong enough to face the outside world. The family emerges from the den, blinking in the dazzling light, their first steps on the snow marking the beginning of a new and dangerous chapter. The cubs' first glimpse of the vast, icy landscape is a pivotal moment. The world outside is blindingly bright, cold, and filled with unknown perils. The mother, now gaunt from her long fast, must lead her cubs across the tundra and onto the sea ice. Her strength is waning, but her determination is unwavering. She must find food quickly to restore her energy and continue caring for her young. This is a time of immense danger for the cubs. They are still small, inexperienced, and vulnerable to the elements and to predators, including adult male polar bears. The cubs' survival depends entirely on their mother's skill as a hunter and her ability to protect them from harm. She teaches them to navigate the treacherous ice, to recognize danger, and to find shelter when storms sweep across the sea. The mother must hunt seals with precision and speed, replenishing her own strength and providing the nourishment her cubs need to continue growing. Every successful hunt is a lifeline for the family. Life for a young polar bear is fraught with danger. The cubs face the constant threat of starvation, exposure, and predation. Even a brief separation from their mother can be fatal. The journey from the den to the sea ice is perilous, with shifting ice flows, hidden cracks, and sudden storms. The first year of life is the most dangerous, and many cubs do not survive these early challenges. The cubs must learn to avoid adult males, who may see them as rivals or prey. The mother is ever watchful, placing herself between her cubs and any threat, ready to defend them with her life if necessary. Despite their mother's care, the mortality rate for cubs is heartbreakingly high. In many populations, only about 1 in 3 cubs will survive to see their second birthday. For about 2.5 years, the cubs remain with their mother, learning the essential skills of hunting, navigation, and survival. Only when they are strong and wise enough to face the Arctic alone will they part ways, ready to continue the cycle of life in this unforgiving wilderness. The Arctic is not a single uniform environment. Instead, it is a vast and ever-changing patchwork of icy seascapes, tundra, and rugged coastlines, each presenting its own challenges and opportunities for survival. It is a mosaic of different seascapes, each with its own unique pattern of ice formation and retreat. The shifting ice dictates where polar bears can travel, hunt, and rest, Polar bears, in turn, are not a single, monolithic population. They are scattered across the Arctic, each group shaped by the unique environment it inhabits. The roughly 26,000 bears left in the wild are divided into 19 distinct subpopulations, each occupying a different corner of the Arctic. Each subpopulation has developed strategies tailored to its local environment. Some travel vast distances over shifting ice, while others remain in more stable regions. Scientists group these populations into 4 sea ice ecoregions based on the characteristics of the ice. Migration patterns vary widely. Some bears follow the ice edge for hundreds of kilometers, while others stay within a smaller, familiar range. How a bear survives depends greatly on which of these regions it calls home. In some areas, bears must travel far to find food, while in others, resources are more concentrated. This showcases the species' remarkable, though limited, adaptability. Some bears migrate seasonally, while others adapt by altering their hunting techniques or denning locations. In some parts of the Arctic, such as the Canadian Arctic archipelago, the sea ice persists throughout the year, creating a relatively stable environment. Here, the ice remains thick and unbroken even in summer, allowing polar bears to stay on the ice and hunt seals year-round. For the bears living in this divergent ice region, life is different. They do not have to endure a long land-based fast, and their migration is limited to following the shifting ice within their territory. They can, in theory, remain on the ice and hunt seals year-round, passing on these survival skills to their young. This environment is considered a potential last refuge for the species as the climate continues to warm and seasonal ice disappears elsewhere. However, even here, the ice is becoming thinner and more broken up, making hunting more challenging and travel more difficult than in the past. In these changing conditions, polar bears must travel farther and expend more energy to find food, increasing the risks of survival. Some bears are forced to swim greater distances between ice flows, a perilous journey that tests their endurance and strength. In stark contrast are the seasonal ice regions like Western Hudson Bay and the Barents Sea, where the ice completely melts every summer. Here, polar bears are forced onto land for months at a time, waiting for the ice to return. During this ice-free season, bears must rely on fat reserves built up during the spring hunt, and some may travel inland in search of alternative food sources. These are the populations that live the classic feast and famine lifestyle, enduring long periods of hunger and relying on their ability to store energy. They are most immediately and severely affected by a warming climate, as the ice-free season grows longer and the window for hunting shrinks. Their survival is a direct function of the length of the ice-free season. The longer they must wait, the more their health and reproductive success decline. As this period stretches longer, these populations face increasing nutritional stress, declining reproduction, and higher mortality rates, placing them on the front lines of the climate crisis. The struggle for survival is most acute here, where the landscape is changing faster than the bears can adapt. In other regions, such as southeastern Greenland, polar bears have found astonishing ways to adapt to their unique environment. Here, a genetically distinct and isolated group of several hundred polar bears has carved out a niche in a land with very little sea ice. For much of the year, they hunt on the freshwater ice that breaks off from the massive glaciers, terminating in the fjords, using these floating platforms to access seals. This glacial melange provides a stable hunting platform when the sea ice is gone, allowing these bears to survive where others could not. These bears are a living testament to the species' resourcefulness, having developed creative hunting behaviors and movement patterns to thrive in a challenging environment. They have carved out a niche that allows them to persist in conditions that would be impossible for other populations, demonstrating the full range of polar bear adaptability. Yet this unique habitat is rare and cannot be a solution for bears elsewhere. Across the Arctic, each region tells a different story of survival, migration, and adaptation. The epic journey of the polar bear is a testament to resilience. but also a warning. Adaptation has its limits, and the future of these Arctic wanderers depends on the fate of the ice they call home. As the endless days of hunger stretch on, the polar bear's world grows smaller and more uncertain. Driven by an emptiness that gnaws deeper with each passing day, the bear wanders across the frozen landscape, its powerful nose searching for even the faintest trace of food. The scents that drift on the cold wind are unfamiliar yet tantalizing. The bear follows them, weaving through strange structures and across hard-packed snow, drawn by the hope of a meal. Hunger sharpens every sense, making the bear bold enough to explore places it would once have avoided. Each step into this new territory is a gamble. The bear's instincts urge caution, but the ache in its belly is relentless. It moves quietly, alert to every sound, every shadow, searching for scraps that might ease its hunger. The landscape is changing. Where once there was endless ice, now there are barriers and obstacles, strange smells and new dangers. The bear's journey is no longer just across the ice, but through a maze of unfamiliar sights and sounds. Sometimes the search for food leads to confinement. The bear finds itself in a place where the sky is blocked and the world is small. There is no food here, only waiting for the ice to return, for the chance to roam and hunt once more. When the ice finally forms again, the bear is released back into the vast white wilderness. It stirs, dazed but determined, setting out across the frozen bay, driven by the hope of seals and the promise of survival. But the world is shifting. The ice forms later and melts sooner. The bear's ancient paths now lead to new places, strange and unwelcoming. Hunger drives it farther, into lands where the snow is marked by unfamiliar scents and the silence is broken by unknown sounds. In these places, the bear's search for food can end in confusion, fear, or even tragedy. The risks are great and the rewards are few. The bear's strength is tested not just by the cold, but by the uncertainty of a world in flux. The shrinking ice, the lengthening hunger, and the changing landscape all conspire against the bear. Its journey is no longer just a migration, but a struggle for existence in a world that is slipping away beneath its paws. Each encounter with the unfamiliar is a reminder of what has been lost. The bear's tracks, once etched across endless ice, now lead through places where the old rules no longer apply. The bear's world is changing faster than it can adapt. The ice that once sustained it is vanishing, replaced by uncertainty and risk. The hunger that drives it forward is a symptom of a much larger loss, the disappearance of the environment it calls home. The fate of the polar bear is written in the ice and snow, in the silent spaces between hunger and hope. Its struggle is not just for food, but for the very world it needs to survive, a world that is melting away, one season at a time. The polar bear is a marvel of evolution, an animal perfectly sculpted by the demands of its frozen world. Yet even this apex survivor faces boundaries that cannot be crossed without consequence. Its ability to endure a 140-day fast is a testament to its incredible resilience. During this time, the bear's body enters a state of profound conservation, slowing its metabolism to a crawl, drawing on every last reserve of fat. But as the days stretch on, the body's defenses begin to falter, muscles waste away, strength ebbs, and the bear's once powerful frame grows gaunt. The mind, too, is tested. Hunger gnaws not only at the belly, but at the spirit. The question is no longer if the fasting season is getting longer, but how much longer can the bears possibly survive? Each day without food is a battle against mounting weakness and the slow, creeping fog of starvation. As fat stores dwindle, the bear's body begins to break down its own muscle for energy. Movements become sluggish, and the drive to hunt is dulled by exhaustion. The mind, deprived of nourishment, grows clouded. Alertness fades, and the will to search for food is replaced by a heavy, numbing fatigue. The results of these changes are deeply sobering. The bear's immune system weakens, leaving it vulnerable to disease and injury, Wounds heal slowly, if at all. The cold, once a familiar companion, becomes a greater threat as the insulating layer of fat thins away. Scientific models predict that once the ice-free period stretches to 180 days, just over a month longer than the current fast in some regions, the consequences would be catastrophic. The body's reserves are simply not enough. At this point, more than half of all adult male bears would likely succumb to starvation. Their bodies, pushed beyond the edge, can no longer sustain the vital organs needed for life. For younger, subadult bears, who have smaller body sizes and less developed hunting skills, the outlook is even grimmer. Their bodies, still growing, are less able to withstand the relentless drain of hunger. They lack the extensive fat reserves of their elders and are more vulnerable to the prolonged lack of food. The psychological toll is immense. Playfulness vanishes, replaced by lethargy and confusion. The models suggest that after 180 days without ice, a significant portion of the entire population would be at risk. The bonds between mothers and cubs are strained as mothers struggle to provide, and the youngest are often the first to perish. We are alarmingly close to this critical threshold. The stress of hunger is written in every movement, every wary glance, every restless night spent searching for food that does not come. The current fast of 130 to 140 days in areas like Hudson Bay is already pushing the bears to the edge of their physiological capabilities. Each year the struggle grows more desperate. We are already seeing the effects in the form of thinner bears, lower birth rates, and higher cub mortality. The emotional bonds between mother and cub are tested by the harsh reality of hunger, as mothers must make impossible choices to survive. The epic comeback from the brink of starvation that these bears perform each year is becoming a more difficult and desperate feat. Each attempt to hunt is a gamble, each step across the thinning ice a risk. Each autumn, they return to the ice in a more depleted state, with less time to recover before the next famine begins. The cycle of hunger and brief abundance grows ever more punishing. It is a downward spiral of declining health and resilience. The body weakens, the mind grows weary, and hope flickers in the face of relentless adversity. The future of this iconic species hangs in the balance, tied directly to the fate of the Arctic sea ice. The loss of their icy hunting grounds is not just a physical challenge, but a psychological one, an erosion of the world they have always known. While the discovery of unique populations like the one in Greenland offers a small glimmer of hope and a testament to the bear's adaptability, it does not change the overall picture. Most bears face a world that is shrinking, growing harsher with every passing year. Most polar bears depend entirely on seasonal sea ice, and that ice is disappearing at an unprecedented rate. The landscape of their ancestors is vanishing beneath their paws. The polar bear has become the unwilling symbol of our warming planet, a powerful reminder that the consequences of climate change are not a distant threat, but a present and urgent reality. Their silent endurance is a story of both strength and suffering. Their struggle for survival on the thinning ice is a silent warning to us all, a testament to the limits of endurance and the cost of a world in flux. In the white silence of the Arctic, polar bears are often seen as solitary wanderers, lone figures traversing vast frozen landscapes. Yet beneath this quiet exterior lies a complex world of communication. For these apex predators, survival depends not only on strength and endurance, but on the ability to send and receive signals across the ice. Polar bears speak in subtle ways. Their voices, though rarely heard by human ears, echo across the tundra when needed. Mothers and cubs exchange soft chuffs and gentle grunts, sounds that reassure and comfort, strengthening the bond that is vital to a cub's survival. When threatened, a bear may huff loudly, its breath steaming in the frigid air, a clear warning to any rival or intruder. Cubs whimper plaintively when hungry or distressed, a sound that draws their mother close and prompts her gentle touch. But much of a polar bear's conversation is silent. Body language plays a crucial role in their interactions. An arched back, lowered head, or flattened ears can signal aggression or submission. When two bears meet on the ice, a slow, deliberate approach with head held low tells of peaceful intentions, an invitation to share space rather than compete, playful sparring between young males, all swats and mock charges, is a way to test strength, learn boundaries, and forge social bonds without escalating to real combat. Scent is another vital thread in the tapestry of polar bear communication. Each bear leaves a chemical signature with every step, every brush against the snow. Glands in their feet and along the body secrete oils that mark trails, invisible messages that linger long after the bear has passed. Scent tells stories: who has been here, what condition they are in, whether a female is ready to mate. During the breeding season, males follow these invisible trails for miles, drawn by the promise of a potential mate. Encounters with other Arctic inhabitants add another layer to this intricate dialogue. A polar bear approaching a ringed seal's breathing hole moves with calculated stealth, its body pressed low, movements slow and measured, a silent negotiation between predator and prey. Arctic foxes, ever watchful, read the bear's posture and scent to judge when it's safe to scavenge leftovers. Even the wary ivory gull perched nearby waits for the bear's signals to swoop in for scraps. In this frozen world, where survival is measured in moments and resources are scarce, every gesture, sound and scent carries meaning. For the polar bear, communication is not just a tool, it is a lifeline, shaping relationships, avoiding conflict, and navigating the ever-changing Arctic. In the quiet expanse of ice and snow, a subtle conversation unfolds, as old as the Arctic itself, a testament to the hidden complexities of life at the top of the world. The journey of a polar bear cub begins deep within the warmth of a snow den, where the biting Arctic winds cannot reach. Born blind and helpless, the cub's world is a cocoon of darkness and muffled sounds, interrupted only by the steady heartbeat and gentle rumble of their mother. Here, in these first precious months, the cubs nurse and grow, drawing strength from their mother's rich milk, a lifeline in a world that waits, cold and unforgiving, just beyond the walls of snow. As spring's pale light returns to the Arctic, the den opens. For the first time, the cubs emerge, blinking into a landscape of endless white. Every step is a lesson. The snow is deep, the ice slippery, and the cold a constant companion. Under their mother's watchful gaze, the cubs stumble, tumble, and rise again, each fall an opportunity to learn, each misstep a rehearsal for survival. Play is the language of learning. The cubs chase each other in circles, pouncing and rolling through drifts of powdery snow. They spar gently, testing tiny claws and teeth, practicing the skills they will one day need to hunt and defend themselves. These games are more than simple fun. They are crucial exercises in balance, coordination, and social bonding, all under the patient supervision of their mother. As the family ventures farther across the sea ice, the cubs' world expands. They watch their mother with rapt attention, mimicking her every move. When she pauses to sniff the air, they do the same, learning to read the invisible messages carried on the wind. When she crouches low near a seal's breathing hole, they flatten their bodies beside her, silent and still, absorbing the art of patience and stealth. But the Arctic is a harsh teacher. The cubs face hunger when seals prove elusive and the ice thins beneath their paws. They learn to navigate treacherous cracks and leap over leads of open water, trusting the lessons of instinct and the steady guidance of their mother. Storms can sweep across the ice without warning, and the cubs huddle close, finding warmth and comfort in their family's embrace. Other Arctic animals become part of the cubs' education. Curious foxes dart nearby, prompting the cubs' playful chases. Ivory gulls wheel overhead, their calls echoing across the ice, while wary seals slip beneath the surface at the slightest sound. Through these encounters, the cubs learn the boundaries between friend, foe, and food. As summer approaches and the ice retreats, the challenges grow. The cubs must swim for the first time, paddling after their mother through icy waters, learning to trust their own strength. Every day brings new tests, and not all cubs survive their first year, but those who do emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to face the vast Arctic on their own. In the end, the first year is a crucible, a time of discovery, danger, and growth. It is here, amid the shifting ice and endless sky, that polar bear cubs learn the lessons of their kind, passed down through generations. In their play, their struggles, and their triumphs, the future of the Arctic's greatest predator is written, one paw print at a time. The Arctic has always been a realm of shifting seasons and flowing ice, but now the changes come faster than ever before. Each year the sea ice forms later and melts earlier, reshaping the very foundation of polar bear life. For these great white hunters, the rhythm of survival is written in the patterns of ice. As the ice recedes, hunting grounds shrink. Where once polar bears roamed vast, unbroken expanses in search of seals, now open water stretches where solid ice should be. The bears must travel farther, sometimes swimming for miles, to find the ice floes that remain. Their powerful limbs propel them through frigid water, but every stroke burns precious energy, a costly gamble in a world with fewer rewards. When the ice is thin or fragmented, hunting becomes a test of patience and innovation. Polar bears have long mastered the art of stillness, waiting silently beside a seal's breathing hole, sometimes for hours. But as the ice cracks and shifts, these breathing holes become scarce, and the bears must adapt. Some try new tactics, stalking seals on land or scavenging the remains left by other predators. Others turn to unexpected foods, bird eggs, berries, even kelp, though none can match the rich fat of a seal. Migration patterns, too, are changing. Bears once followed predictable routes across the frozen sea, guided by the memory of generations. Now they must navigate an unpredictable maze, adjusting their paths as the ice forms in new places and vanishes from old ones. Some become stranded on land for longer periods, forced to fast as they wait for the ice to return. Scientists track these changes with satellites and GPS collars, mapping the bears' journeys and the shrinking ice. They note shifts in hunting success, body weight, and even the timing of births. Research reveals a story written in data and behavior, a story of resilience, but also of growing struggle. Through it all, polar bears continue to adapt. They teach their young to read the ice, to sense danger, and to seize every opportunity. Their lives are a testament to the power of instinct, honed over millennia, now tested by forces beyond their control. In the ever-changing Arctic, survival demands both tradition and innovation, a delicate balance on fragile ice. As the sun circles low above the horizon and the ice groans beneath their paws, the polar bears press on, each step a quiet act of endurance in a world that is changing faster than ever before. In the vast icy wilderness of the Arctic, the polar bear is not alone. Every step across the snow brings it into a silent dance with other creatures, predators, prey, and opportunists, all bound together by the struggle to survive. The seal is the polar bear's most vital prey. Beneath the snow, ringed seals build hidden dens to shelter their pups. For a polar bear, patience is everything. It listens for the faintest breath, the softest scratch, then strikes with precision. But seals are wary, and their survival depends on keen senses and the safety of shifting ice. Some escape through hidden tunnels, leaving the bear hungry. Each encounter a contest of instinct and endurance. Walruses, too, share this frozen domain. Massive, armored with tusks, they gather in noisy herds on the ice. For a lone bear, an adult walrus is an intimidating opponent, too large and dangerous to tackle head-on. But the bear knows to watch for the weak or the young, waiting for a moment of vulnerability. Sometimes a risky attack pays off. Other times the walruses band together, driving the bear away with a united wall of muscle and ivory. Even the smallest predators play a role. The Arctic fox shadows the polar bear, clever and patient. When a bear finishes its meal, the fox moves in, scavenging scraps, bones, fat, and bits of flesh. This unlikely partnership benefits both. The fox gets a meal, while the bear's leftovers are cleaned from the snow, yet competition remains. If food is scarce, the fox may raid a bear's hidden cache, or the bear might chase the smaller scavenger from its prize. Every interaction, whether fierce rivalry or quiet coexistence, shapes the balance of Arctic life. The polar bear's success ripples across the ecosystem, influencing the fate of seals, walruses, and foxes alike. In this intricate web, survival is never a solitary struggle. It is a story of conflict and cooperation, adaptation and resilience, written in the tracks that crisscross the snow and the echoes that carry on the Arctic wind.